Hey guys, Adam Menner here from the Business of Strength and Varsity House Gym. I'm running a solo podcast today, and I'm super excited because this is a prelude into what I'm talking about on September 18th and 19th at the Canopy Hotel in Scottsdale, Arizona. That is our Business of Strength retreat. That is my favorite week of the entire year. We fly out our team to Scottsdale, Arizona, where a lot of our Business of Strength community members and our gym members, where they get together here. And that is where we break down this year's theme, which is turning interns into all-stars. And look, here's the reality. The reality is that in a service-based business, the gym industry, obviously, in our case, people are your number one leverage. So capital helps, but people are the number one constraint. And so the more that you pour into people in your business, the more that you're going to be able to grow, scale, and ultimately provide real long-term careers for individuals. And that is what matters. Okay. And that is what matters. So that is September 18th and 19th. Don't forget to register for that event. Bring your team. I assure you, this is going to be our best one to date because this is truly for individuals who want to grow in their business. So today's topic is the three components of leadership. Right? And I talk a lot about with our community group the difference between being a great leader and a great operator. And leadership is a vague term now that describes somebody who wants to go somewhere and who's encouraging others to get there. And so leadership, but being a great operator are two totally different skill sets and two totally different things, right? Leadership does not mean you're really good at running a business, but being a great operator means that you're really good at running a business. And there are three components that I'm going to break down for you today's episode that pertain to the word leadership. And here they are. Number one is organizational leadership. Organizational leadership. Number two is operational leadership. And number three is behavioral leadership. So organizational leadership, operational leadership, and behavioral leadership are the three components that make a great leader, operator, owner. And starting from the top, so number one is organizational leadership. So organizational leadership has three different components. Number one is the creation of your business cadence. As my partner likes to say, Dan Goodman, trains on time. But what I like to consider that is how and where and when is work getting done on a weekly basis and what is happening at each of those points. And so a business cadence on our end, we have segmented our business into three parts. Number one is offense. So everything from marketing, client acquisition to sales. Number two is training and service. So are we getting results? How are we monitoring those results? How are we monitoring the effectiveness of those results? And then service. Are our coaches doing a great job? How are we evaluating our coaches? How are our coaches serving our customers and our members? And then number three is defense. How are we keeping clients, mitigating attrition? What is our attendance? What is our capacity? And so that is the three systems in our business. Now, when you think about cadence is okay. Well, where do we meet about these? Where do we do the work about these? And how do we fall through with each system in the business? And so a cadence that we have created, if you break it down to a day and a week, earlier in the week is about offense. So this is where we are setting the tone for member acquisition. So everything from our offensive scorecards, reviewing sales, and reviewing what we have on the table in terms of opportunity to get new clients in the door. Once that's happening throughout the rest of the week, we're starting at the beginning of the week because we need to ensure that we're hitting our call volume, we're getting our consults and our trials in, and we can monitor that the rest of the week. In the middle of the week, across all three facilities, this is where we monitor the middle portion, if you will, which is training and customer service. So we're meeting about our product, coaching cues, new training ideologies. We're meeting about how we serve our members. Are we adhering to the defensive scorecard? And then lastly, as the week rounds out, we should be on track with our sales, and if not, that takes priority. But the back half of the week is all about defense. So our impact cards, reaching out to members, posting content about training, education, authority, stories. That is the cadence of your week. And it is your job as the manager, owner, operator to ensure that that cadence is happening every single week. Because if it's not, then the work's not getting done. Number two is the preparation around the systems and insulating your team to ensure that that work is being done. And here's what I mean. Preparation as a leader in itself is so much of the job, but a lot of people don't think because they get confused with the action and actually doing the things. And that's true for your coaches. They need to just focus on the action, doing the work, adhering to the cadence. But your job, part of organizational leadership, is to ensure that the flow is okay, the schedule is working, you're ahead of time, you're prepared, ahead of time with your meeting documents, checking your scorecards, you're coming to meetings with preparedness. So you have exact things that you're trying to do, decide on, solve right there in the meeting. Being prepared is a skill set. And so looking at your schedule, the business's schedule, looking at your POS system, looking at your scorecards and your meeting docs are the 5 things that you should do every single Monday, first thing early in the morning, unless you're not coaching. Unless you're coaching. So you have your business cadence, you have your preparation to ensure that the cadence is working optimally. And then the last thing is you're blocking yourself and your time, and your coach's time on what we like to call RGAs. This is something that we took from Billy Armstrong, the head coach of Bergen Catholic. RGAs means revenue generating activity. So revenue generating activity is, okay, what are the actions and where now are the actions getting done? So if we go to the top, okay, I'm prepared for my week. My business cadence, these are the main meetings. So we have a sales meeting, coaches meeting, defensive meeting every week. That's 3 meetings. Now, where is that work going to get done? Okay, here's where your sessions are. Okay, then you're going to train yourself. Then you're going to eat lunch. Then we have a meeting. Then you have a 3-hour block. This is where you're going to get all of that stuff done. So we are literally securing RGA opportunity every single day for our coaches and for yourself. You need time to help course correct systems, solve problems, continue to build systems within your business. And that is part 1. That is organizational leadership. Now we're going to go to number 2, operational leadership. So organization is organizing the flow of your business through your business cadence, your preparation, time blocking, RGAs. Now, operational leadership is a little bit different. This is about aligning and creating opportunity for your coaching staff. So there's 3 parts. That's number 1. Number 2, this is about creating anchors and systems around the outcomes and the inputs. And number 3, this is adhering to the system with a phrase I like to call system discipline. And now let's break those down. So number 1, aligning, creating your days for output. When you look at your team, if you want to help somebody, the number 1 thing that you can do is look at their schedule. So when you're looking at their schedule and you just see gaps of time, it's probably a leading indicator that they're not doing much at that time. Or maybe they are, but they're not documenting it. So they're not good at operating themselves and managing their own time and their own calendars. So what I try to do is I look at our team and I look, is the schedule to a T? Like, why are there gaps here? What's happening in the schedule here? Where are you getting your offensive work done? Where are you getting your training defensive work done? Where is that stuff happening? And that is unbelievably important, because then you're ensuring that activity is happening. And we know that results is a byproduct of activity times skill sets. And so for less skilled coaches, they need more activity. So they need to be managed more with their schedules. For more skilled coaches, they don't need to be micromanaged as much, but you need to ensure that they're getting the work done that they said they were going to get done. So where does that live? So operational leadership is all about taking the business cadence that you created and then ensuring that in each individual schedules of the coaches that they're trying to get that work, that they are getting that work done. Number 2, creating anchors and systems around the outcomes and inputs. I said this on a call last week that I did with our Business to Strength community. Monday morning quarterbacking is such a pet peeve of mine. I won't even listen to you if you're trying to Monday morning quarterback. If you're trying to seek to understand, then that's different. Okay, like, well, this is why this happened, or this happened because of X, Y, and Z. But if you're just telling me, if I'm a coach, on what to do when we didn't have any meetings and there was no say and there was no agreement upon anything, it's very useless information. The second part of Monday morning quarterbacking is when you're trying to be a leader around something that's not that important. Let me give you an example. If you have your sales team sending out SMS messages and the messaging is misspelled, the lines are too bunched, there's no spacing, there's no clarifying questions, you're not asking them to make a decision, yes or no based answers, and then you're talking to them about personal growth and development and going the extra mile, what is that? Honestly, like, what is that? You're wasting that person's time because you're creating unnecessary noise in their workflow and their day-to-day. So when it comes to creating anchors and systems and monitoring the effectiveness of their inputs, just lead through the systems. So whatever the skill set is that they cannot do within the system, that is how you lead them. So let's use that example again. Okay, I see SMS messaging is not working. What I literally did is I created a 15-minute presentation on sending better SMS messaging in our sales pipelines that are going to get better open rates, response rates, and pickup rates. That was it. So now when I met with the sales team, that is something that we talked about for 10, 15 minutes. And that was my segue part of our sales meeting. Don't create unnecessary thoughts and work as an operational leader. Just lead through your systems and the gap to gain with skill sets to be able to do that system better. Okay. Number 3 is the follow through or system discipline. So that is part 2. That is operational leadership. Organizational leadership, operational leadership, and lastly, the hardest one, which is number 3, behavioral leadership. This is what no leadership book will teach you, right? Behavioral leadership. Every single human being, there's almost 9 billion people on this planet. Every human being has their own genealogy, neurological makeup, predisposition that makes them think, act, and speak the way that they do. Behavior is an influence of 2 things. Number 1 is intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, right? Intrinsic motivation is how they feel about the work that they are currently doing. And intrinsic motivation can happen by their personal level of deprivation. And I've talked a lot about that before, but deprivation is a perceived gap from where you want to be and where you currently are. And so if you're inspiring coaches to create larger and larger gaps of deprivation, subconsciously, they're going to realize, wow, I'm way further away. I'm doing really well, but I'm way further away than where I need to be. So I need to keep working hard, keep getting on the saddle, keep making sure that I'm doing my inputs and my effort and energy levels super high because I have a huge level of deprivation. But if it's okay and you're saying that the current level of deprivation that you have is good, hey guys, we're doing really well. You're right there. You're shrinking that gap. And now in their mind, they're like, yeah, with my current level and what I'm currently doing, we're good. We're good. And so behavior is changed intrinsically when you create huge levels of deprivation for your team and you motivate them to close the gap. Number 2 is extrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation is their level of comparison to other people and where they are. And let's give an example. You could do it as a business. Hey guys, we know that we want to hit $10 million in revenue as a business. Right now, we're at 3. It's like, holy smokes. That's a lot of work. So what's it going to take to get there? Well, guys, here's the character, the belief systems, and the skill sets needed to get to $10 million. It's like, oh, wow. Okay. How do we make that happen? And so you're leading by internally, extrinsically, with an I, motivating them by creating levels of deprivation and showing them that it's possible and motivating them to close the gap. You're motivating them extrinsically by showing them where they could be, but the skill sets, the character, and the belief systems needed to get to that level and why it's so important to do the daily work, the weekly work, the monthly work, because those are the things needed for us to get to that desired goal that we set. And so behavior changes when you can influence intrinsic and extrinsic. And anything else that you read is just not true. You could read amazing leadership books that may make you feel like you're a better leader, but you have to affect and influence intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Number 2, how to lead when things are going well and wrong. When things are going really well, you should lead harder. You need to coach harder because they're already intrinsically and extrinsically motivated and they're already going. And so you're continuing to push. You're being positive, but you're pushing. Positive, but I'm pushing. And this is to expedite skills and activity, but more importantly, good skills and good activity. And this is how you get to results quicker, right? Whereas you could take the opposite. When things aren't going well, scorecards aren't being met, sales are not being met, the attrition is really high, product is not great. When you just come in and then you just completely come in like a bull in a china shop and you're just ripping apart everything that's happening, you have a loud bark and this isn't right, this isn't the right way, you're not doing this, you're not doing this. It's like, obviously, these people know that something is not right. So just by coming in and just exacerbating the situation is not going to get them to come around and get back on the horse and get going. And so when things are going wrong, this is where you're being more positive, as if things are going very right. And you're, again, galvanizing the troops and you're speaking positively and you're affirming that, yes, this is not good, this is hard, but it's okay. Here's what we're going to do. And here's how we get better. Remember X, Y, and Z. And so it's almost the opposite approach. When things are going really well, you're harder, you're getting on them. You're still being positive, but you're harder, you're getting on them, you're pushing, you're pushing. Things are going bad, let's take a step back. No problem. I understand this is really hard. You know the results, right? You know the activity, you know the goals. Of course, of course. Where do you need help? How can we help you? Let's fix this. Let's close this gap. And that strategy has been very effective for behavioral change, but also just buying it from your coaches and trusting you and showing them that you care, right? And showing them that you care. That's number 2 under behavioral leadership. And number 3, the last one, okay? And this is just time. This is just time spent with your coaching staff to truly influence change and behavioral change. And leadership could be spelled 2 other words, servant and time. And so spending a lot of time and serving your coaches is the number 1 way that I have found to ensure that you have trust. And when you look at the hierarchy of the pyramid of success and team organizations, trust has to be at the foundation, right? Trust has to be at the foundation. They trust you, you trust them because you spend a lot of time with them and you serve them a lot. Okay, and the language and the leadership and the frameworks and the models, all of that you could throw out the window. Just spend a lot of time and serve your team. And I assure you that the organizational, the operational, and the 2 other points of behavioral leadership will be positively influenced. So that is what I have for you guys. Those are the 3 components: organizational leadership, operational leadership, behavioral leadership, the triangle of leadership and being a more effective operator in your gym business. So I hope that helped, guys. If you guys have any further questions, comments, or what have you, remember, we are hosting a seminar, our Business to Strength Retreat, September 18th and 19th at the beautiful Canopy Hotel in Scottsdale. Interns to All-Stars, how to truly develop your team, where we are going to go over so much more than what I covered today from our team and some of the best gym owners and operators in the entire country. So thanks so much, guys. Thank you for your time. I'll catch you on the next one.